of Education meeting of June 20th. And would you please call the order?
Ms. Dunbar?
Here.
Ms. Fiesel?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien? Here. Mr. White?
Here.
Mr. King?
Here. We, because of Becky not being able to join us this evening, we do need to appoint a treasurer pro tem. So will we have a nomination for that position this evening?
I nominate Julie Fiesel as treasurer pro tem.
A second?
It's just for one.
For just this meeting.
I second.
You want me to do it all year?
Was that a caveat?
Let's be clear.
Any discussion? Could you please call the roll?
Ms. Dunbar?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Ms. Fiesel?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes. Thank you, Julie. And with that, actually, I went out of order, didn't I? We've done the roll call. I don't know if we need to do it again, do we?
I think everyone's here.
Everything's right here. I'm sorry, Todd, I went
That's
out of
okay,
order on
that's
that.
fine.
Would everybody please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. On approving the agenda, do we have some items that we want to introduce?
We do have some additions, as we always do during this time of year, because it is hiring season. You will see some additions under Superintendent Action Item A, certified staff. We have under item A1, we have Darren Meeker added to that list as the athletic director at Liberty. And then under item 2, where we're hiring individual teachers, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 additional teachers added. And under item 4, for extended service days, we have 1 additional person added to that, the Allen Creek Guidance Counselor. Along with that, you will notice in Exhibit A1, revised policy. It reflects the changes that we discussed at our June 14th work session. I believe that that language was lined through, and we had that corrected for this board meeting.
And what went out in the packets was the former version, but the board members did receive the revised edition of that policy that I'll be speaking to. With that, motion to approve the agenda, please.
I just have one item. Can we separate the athletic handbook as a separate item from the vote of the superintendent action items, please?
I believe it's already separated under item C, so that is an already separated item, but I will make sure when we ask for approval, I'll pull that out for a separate vote specifically.
Okay, thank you.
As we've done before
Yes.
with other items. Okay, with that, is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Please call the roll, Julie.
Ms. Dunbar,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Mr. White,
Yes.
Ms. Fiesel, yes, and Mr. King.
Yes. We have a very special presentation this evening, and a special guest from who is Ella Terry, and we'll let Mr. Carlisle speak to that. If you would like to introduce Luke, please join us up front here, and you can do the honor of the introduction and why she's here this evening.
Thank you so much. Would you join me up here? You can join me over on this side so that we can hear you. The microphone's here and it has a short cord. So this is Ella Terry. She is a 3rd grader going to 4th grade at Arrowhead Elementary. And we are hoping that you've heard the exciting news already, but would like to share more about it in that Ella was Arrowhead's representative for Invention Convention this year. She went to the regional competition at COSI, and she was the grand champion of over 300 students in the region. So we're very proud of her. We decided tonight, so that it was more comfortable for Ella, I'll just pretend that I'm a reporter, and I'll ask her some questions, and then she can share some information about her invention and her experience with all of you. So apologize if you can't see Ella. It's because the microphone's over here. Her to be able to address the board as well. So Ella, how did you think of your idea?
Well, I was on vacation, and when I went to sleep, they had the place that I was staying at with my aunt. They had cats, and I would wake up coughing, and I needed my inhaler, and I would go and I would reach for my inhaler, and it would knock off the nightstand, and I would need it, but I couldn't find it. So then I thought of Mr. Williams.
So then you thought of Mr. Lungs. That's what she's named her invention. So how does, we've heard that your invention helps kids with asthma. How does it help kids with asthma? What problem does it solve?
Well, just basically when they go to sleep and they have a cold or they have coughing, and when you reach for your inhaler, it probably falls off the nightstand, and then you try to reach it from the ground, but you can't get it, and the cough gets a lot worse every time.
Sure, and it's dark. So you have to get up out of bed and walk over and turn on the light. So, and you need it quickly, right? Or a student with asthma would need it quickly. It's not something you need to walk across the room and turn on the light and find. Yeah. So why did you pick a turtle for Mr. Lungs?
Well, first I tried a bear, but it didn't work because my inhaler couldn't fit with it. So then we tried a turtle, which was a little bit bigger, and also that's my favorite animal.
I see. So as you were going through this process of thinking about your invention and how to make it as best as it could possibly be, was there anything that you fixed or improved or changed along the way?
Well, like the bear I said, and also I tried Velcro first, but it made a lot of noise and it was just a lot harder. And when whoever the child was sleeping with, it would irritate the child's skin. And so then I tried a zipper, and it just stays easy and it doesn't irritate the child's skin.
Okay. And I see you have different materials. Is there a reason you chose some of the materials you used?
Well, when picking them, I needed something soft and something bright.
So that's how you chose your. Very cool. Would you like to demonstrate Mr. Lungs and how Mr. Lungs works?
You just unzip them, and you have your inhaler in, so it's easy to get it at night, and it's easy to zip.
There you go. Sometimes harder than others, right? But that's okay.
Probably
It was
easier when
close.
you're not standing.
That's right. When you're laying down snuggling with Mr. Lungs, it's easier to zip it back up. Well, thank you so much for sharing with all of us. We're so proud of you. Very, very exciting accomplishment for one of Arrowhead's students. Thank you for giving us an opportunity to share that accomplishment with you. I didn't introduce Ella's family here in the front row, but they're here with her as well as Ella's teacher, Mrs. Klein. So I want to thank all of them for being here tonight as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good job, Ella.
And likewise for the students, they'll be honoring momentarily here. You're welcome to leave if you'd like, and you're also welcome to stay for the board meeting if you'd like to do that too. So don't be shy about leaving if you would like to do that. Under the board president's report, I have 4 items this evening. We'll do the first one, and then after the students have received their recognitions, I'll come back to the other 3. We will be recognizing students for their extracurricular activities this evening, and Mr. O'Brien is going to do the introductions while Dr. Lucas and I have an opportunity to shake these successful students' hands. So if you would, we're ready.
Great. So as Mr. King indicated, each year the Olentangy Board of Education recognizes students and staff student and staff members for their outstanding achievements in co-curricular, extracurricular, and athletic activities. In May, we were able to recognize approximately 100 students, coaches, and advisors. Now that the spring sports have come to an end, we're happy to congratulate another 7 students, 5 teams, and 2 coaches. As I call each person's name, we ask that you walk up to receive your award and pose for a photograph. These photos will be mailed to you in the next few weeks. We'll begin with our track teams. From Olentangy High School, let's congratulate Whitney Bryce, who placed second place in the state in the pole vault, and Emily Gintner, 7th place in the state in the high jump.
And for those of you who were at graduation, we had to give Whitney her diploma early so she could get to her event. So,
You did the whole setup.
yeah, I did the whole setup ahead of her class. So, glad you did so well.
Okay, from Olentangy Orange High School, Caitlin Daniels was state champion in the shot put and the discus.
Wow.
Also from Orange, Hannah Hartzell was all-state in the 3,200 meters. From Olentangy Liberty, Olentangy Liberty High School, Grant Cartwright was state champion in the discus.
Tell him how far you threw it.
195 feet.
It was brutal. You should see the pictures and the video.
Moving on to softball, from Olentangy Orange High School, let's congratulate Mason Robinson, first team All-State. From Olentangy Liberty High School, let's congratulate Coach Bob Lee for leading his team to an OCC championship and earning OCC Coach of the Year honors. Turning to baseball, at Orange High School, Coach Phil Callahan led his team to a district championship, and they were runners-up in the regionals. There's also a lot to celebrate at Olentangy High School, where Coach Steve Little led his team to an OCC and district championship. We also want to congratulate Olentangy High School senior Woody Wallace, who was named first team for Ohio for baseball. Moving on to lacrosse, I'd like to congratulate the Olentangy High School coach, Mike Kinney, for leading his team to an OCC championship.
Who's that here?
And finally, congratulations to the Liberty High School boys volleyball team and Coach Dave Hale for an OCC championship, district championship, OCC Coach of the Year honors, and a regional coaches achievement award.
We'll give them just a moment here.
But then she's so excited she shut up. So you can't see him. So he's all, I wish you had shut up.
To continue with the board president's report, again, as I said, I have 3 more items. One of them is later in the agenda, we will be making official the discussion we had earlier about our liaison board representatives to our board committees and other committees. And I just wanted to take the opportunity under the president's report to say thank you to all of those who volunteer for our district. These committees that we have and those members have provided enormous benefit and value to this district. As we look at our efficiencies, as we look at the cost of operating a school district and making sound judgments based on the expertise of so many people at no cost to this district, they're volunteering their time and their expertise. It is a wonderful value that this district realizes. And as we talk about the committees, and as board members are able through their time commitments, I understand that we all have family commitments, other commitments, work commitments, etc. I'm just hopeful that even if 1 or 2 members aren't available at this time to commit, that they would do their best to try to find time to be involved in any or more of these committees. I'm just going to cite an example, and that's the Finance and Audit Committee. It's sort of like the PGA ad that we've all seen for the golfers, where you watch these golfers bounce balls off of garages and automobiles, and then they go into the hole, and then the narrator says, these guys are good. And I've sat in these finance and audit committees, and I'm just amazed at the expertise and the conversations they have as they look at our 5-year forecast and other documents. And to Todd's credit and to Becky's credit in these conversations, they may bring something forward as an idea or a concept, and they're extremely willing to listen to those and, in fact, have implemented comments that have been brought forward. The 2 of them are also very good about if something, for whatever reason, doesn't fit into the scheme of things, in a very professional manner, pointing that out, and the committee respectfully considers that point of view too. It's just a great opportunity to be involved and sharing that expertise. So again, I'm hopeful that all of us can find opportunities to be involved. This past meeting, Stacy and I were invited to meet with the Turf Committee, and we did so. And I felt that out of that discussion, we had a very open and honest dialogue. And I am very hopeful, and I would hope that Stacy feels the same way, and I'm hopeful that the members of that committee feel likewise, that we can continue this conversation forward as we investigate the opportunities as well as the constraints, as was voiced by the 5 board members the other evening, that we can continue that dialogue in a very positive way. So that was another step after our last board meeting of having that open dialogue. Would you like to add anything to that, Stacy?
No, I think around the room there's a lot of support for the turf. It's just how to get it done without burdening the taxpayer. So I was also pleased with the conversation, and I think took enough of a deep breath, and we can keep talking about how we can make it happen for this district.
Thank you. And then the last item under this report is I wanted to let everybody know what's coming up in our next couple of work sessions. In July, we will be getting a report from OASIS. And in August, we will have a transportation update. There will be dialogue on core standards and assessment update. There'll be discussion on Ohio Department of Education and a follow-up discussion on OASIS. So those are our work session as they stand now, topics for our July and August meetings. And I might mention, too, that in July we have just the one meeting. and it will be a regular meeting. With that, Dr. Lucas with the superintendent's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. King. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. Believe it or not, it just seems like we left here, doesn't it?
Yes.
And I guess that was a week ago or 6 days ago. Which was it? At any rate, it is good to be back, and we have several items on the agenda. Obviously, I'm not going to go over each one of those items, but we also have many items to share that would be good news items. And of course, we started the meeting out this evening with Ella and all of our athletes that performed so well in the spring that still had things to go through once our May achievement meeting was conducted. So it is a great month to celebrate, and I want to share some of the things happening in the district with the board and the public this evening. Well, believe it or not, preliminary testing results are back, and we have crunched the data, and I do emphasize the word preliminary because there may be some changes, but very few changes in regard to some of our scores. I think our data department probably is as good as any data department in the state of Ohio. And the other part that amazes me is the fact that we had some of our principals actually crunching their data over the weekend, this past weekend, coming into work Monday knowing exactly where they were in regard to their performance index, what strategies they were already thinking about putting in place to see how they can improve. And again, as you can see, our performance index went up again, 107.6. If you recall, last year was 106.9. You also recall that the projection data said we would end up right around 108. Now, it said anywhere from 106 to 110, 111. So we're very close to that. Great effort in all parts of our district. Our staff, obviously, we continue to say we're only as good as the quality of the teacher that we put in front of our kids on a daily basis. And again, 1,000 new kids continue to grow. Performance index continues to go up. 17 of our buildings maintained or increased their performance index. We do have no prior data for Berkshire, even though I believe their performance index was right around 107.8. Again, preliminary scores. No data for Heritage because it was a kindergarten building, and we don't test kindergartners at the state level. So it was a good result. 4 buildings with a slight decrease, but once again, high-performing districts will not always hit the goals, and when you do have a slight decrease, it's not such a bad thing. All 4 have very high scores. We're watching the state data trends for better perspective on these changes. And again, I think the encouraging part would be not only those individuals in the 4 buildings that had the decrease, individuals in the 17 buildings that stayed the same had the increase, already working on, okay, how can we get better? Because we understand one thing. Our constituents expect high quality. And I didn't know how all the other districts did. I do know, by the way, that I asked several of them today, and they didn't know what their score was, which I don't know what kind of a sign that is, whether that's not as good or they really didn't know. But again, our data department is able to crunch those numbers and get them to us. So we will have the official word out in regard to the report card in the future. So it's a good thing. I like to say then and now. What were we like? What are we like? Then, we're talking about 10 years ago, fiscal year 2001. State rating system comes out. It's the past decade. How have we done? We had an effective rating. That would be, in today's terms or next year's report card terms, or maybe the year after, that would be a B. As you recall, we have excellent with distinction. Now we have excellent, we have effective. So that would be a B. We had 88.9% of our indicators met 10 years ago. Our AYP, adequate yearly progress, was not met. Now, what do we have? We have excellent with distinction rating, 100% of our indicators are met. AYP met, exceeded the value-added measure. What does that mean? That means, do we add a year's worth of value to a child's educational experience every year they spend in our school system? Well, not only do they get a year's worth of value added to that, they get over a year's worth of value added to their education. So it's been a great year. It's been a great decade. We have come a long way, and will continue to increase, and will continue to push our individuals. Now, one thing I didn't put on this slide was enrollment increase over that decade, over 10,000 students. Enrollment increase over that decade, over 10,000 students. Many people that I talked to, I sent you those coffee chat rules in regard to our discussion. I have a lot of coffee chats. Why do they move here? They move here because of the school system. It's not because of the traffic. It's not because of the fact that it is a rural area, even though it used to be a rural area. They move here because of the school system. And I can't say enough about the individuals in the school system that makes the system what it is. So that's a great thing. Other good things. You participated in this. 970 new alumni. 970. It was a great, great day. We have added pictures on that. I think we talked a little bit about that at our last meeting, so I won't go much further into that, but that's probably one of the nicest days of the school year for the Olentangy schools, and I appreciate the individuals that came out and supported that. I appreciate those parents. You just don't see very many unhappy people at graduation. It's just a great day. And again, we appreciate all that everyone has done. Also had the opportunity to attend with Julie the Nationwide Children's Hospital benefit concert and art show. That was kind of an introduction to the new Heart Center at Nationwide Children's Hospital. Now, I have to tell you, when I was asked to go to this and I was asked to be the keynote speaker, I sat there 6-7 months ago going, okay, why am I here? What's happening? That's just another night. I'd like to be doing something else. But I can also tell you this. Thank God I got to go, because it was almost like one of those proud parent nights, because our students, they performed. Our students also have 5 of our students were honored with their artwork being permanently displayed in the new Heart Center. Julie's daughter was one of those 5, by the way. I guess I was absolutely awed and amazed at the amount of talent that we have in this school district. Once again, even though you see it every day and you get to experience every day, I would encourage those individuals that have never stepped foot in our school for a long time, whether it be because you don't have kids in the system or whether it be because your kids are up and gone and you're empty nesters, come visit us, because we have some of the most talented individuals, not only in the state but in the nation. And I think I referred back to that list, during that senior awards night of the kids. Where are we sending our kids? Stanford, MIT, Carnegie Mellon, Georgia Tech. The list goes on. Oh, by the way, we had a guy turn down Harvard for the University of Pennsylvania. That's talent. Now, I would give anything to have that type of future of a 17, 18-year-old, but I would just encourage those individuals that really miss out on visiting our schools, visit our schools and see these kids, because I think you'll get the same feeling that I got that night. You're just proud to be here because we have a great, great system, and I can't say enough about that. Also, this summer, unlike what some people think, we really don't only get, we really don't, I guess, get 3 months off, or we really do get 3 months off, but there's a lot of work being done during those 3 months. 700 staff members enrolled in professional development. I know Mr. King talked a little bit about upcoming work session, and every year we try to get Carol Trimble, who works in our curriculum department, to come in and talk about our professional development program, because we do it a little bit differently here, in the fact that we keep it in-house. So in lieu of sending our teachers out to wherever for professional development, we have the expertise, and we use the expertise right here in-house to go through that professional development with our teachers. And we'll have 700 of our staff members. Keep in mind, we have 1,100 staff members. 700 of them will be taking advantage of that OLSD program in the summer. And some of those instructors, I believe you are approving tonight for some of the coursework that they will be providing for our instructors this summer. So that's another great thing that we do. Also, good things, I'm going to go quickly through this. Elementary Teachers of the Year. Here's the list. Again, if you have children in these buildings, you know the work that these teachers do and the rest of the staff in those buildings do. I look down through, and sometimes I smile. I know Lynn and I both smile at Soda Ridge, for example. Alyssa Martinek, we kind of grew up with her dad, and he's an educator also. And the fact that she was selected as a Teacher of the Year in this school system just says a lot about that entire family. It also says a lot about this school system. At the secondary level, we had Teachers of the Year once again, and you may be familiar with these names, you may not. I'm very familiar with the name on there, by the way, Shanahan, by Mr. Robert Klein. How am I familiar? He has my son. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I'm not sure I've ever been associated with an individual that works at hard. Now, granted, I'm the superintendent. He has the superintendent's kid. And a lot of people say, good Lord. And that may be one of the prayers of a lot of teachers is, Lord, bless me, but don't let me have the superintendent's son or daughter in my class. Bob Klein goes above and beyond the call of duty for all of his kids, and he's very much deserving of that. But guess what? All those individuals go above and beyond, and many others that aren't on that list go above and beyond. So I can't say enough about them. One thing I will say, or remind you, we used to announce the Teacher of the Year or Employee of the Year at the end of the school year. What we have done this year is announced each individual building or department, and then at our convocation day next year, opening day, that's when we will make the announcement for who won the district award. So you won't know until then who won it, but our goal, of course, is to get them up in front of their colleagues in much-deserved recognition because, once again, we have 1,150 teachers, and if you're on that list, you're up in very, very high, great company. Employees of the Year, there's Transportation, Food Service, Maintenance, Secretarial, Aid and Office, and Pre-K. Again, we will be announcing the Employees of the Year at Convocation Day. Hiring update. Again, as you see by this agenda, this is one of those times of the year where we just keep, we lose some, we get some back. Job openings, we're going to only hire about 20 and a half for enrollment growth. We'll continue to monitor that. We now have 45 to cover due to resignations, retirements, or they just left the system. So that leaves approximately 65 and a half potential positions. We have 39 new teachers of this 65 and a half already hired. We will closely monitor, and I say we, it's mostly Gail that does that, monitor enrollment figures to determine how many of the remaining openings will be filled during this summer. Salary data. I wanted to go over this, not to pick on anyone. I know Mr. White had brought this up at the last board meeting. I think I bring this up only out of a transparency piece. He talked a little bit about Bowling Green professors' salaries, and I just wanted to make clear so that we all understand. I know he stays in touch with his constituents on a consistent basis. We do, and he stated this, our average salary is $63,783. Similar districts, those 20 districts most like us, $66,852. State average is $57,904. The Bowling Green professor average, though, is $94,085. I think Adam, I think you'd stated right around 63 or maybe 1% less than us. That included adjunct professors or part-timers. So when you go to the Ohio University's faculty salary survey, you will find that their full-time professors do make $94,085 a year. Just want to make that clear. Yes, sir.
Gotcha. The assistant professors there, which the salary I was referring to, they all have PhDs. Gotcha. And so I even have the definition of it. I don't have it with me, but they all have PhDs. Just to clarify, the ones that I was comparing it to have PhDs.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Agenda items, administrative positions. I get to introduce this one, Nicole Crothers. She is our new Liberty High School assistant principal. Nicole, would you stand, please? Everyone, welcome to Nicole to Olentangy. I'd like for her husband, Cliff, would you stand, please, also? Good to see you. Nicole comes to us from Reynoldsburg. Again, she will be the assistant principal at Liberty High School. And as I talked to them before the meeting, they will be relocating this direction. Currently, they live in Canal Winchester, and as you know, that is a long drive every day. So she will be coming this way. Nicole, welcome. Good to see you. I don't think anyone else that we're hiring new is here, right? Because I don't want to leave anyone else. Also, along with that, we're having Michael Miller as the transportation supervisor. He is or has served as a bus driver. He'll be moving over to a supervisor position. As you recall, we moved Jody Clark up to the transportation director. Also, Darren Meeker is being hired as the Liberty High School athletic director. Darren comes to us from The Ohio State University, where I believe he's been there approximately 18 years. He's worked in the almost as an associate athletic director, worked on in the academic piece, working with the players. And we are very excited to get Darren here. And obviously what this also does is puts a final step or a closure to this whole AD audit investigation. I think as you heard a couple weeks ago, our athletic directors were cleared of any criminal wrongdoing in regard to this entire audit. Just to put a final chapter or final stamp on this thing so we can move forward. This was a process that probably started in September, something like that. And it wasn't a pretty process, as we've already discussed, and I'm not bringing up the past or anything like that. But I think once we got to the end, it is reassuring to see and know that the process does work. And there was a lot of opinions, as there always will be in public schools. But I believe at the end of the day, when everybody got through their investigation, everybody got through the let me see or hear or wonder what happened, we're now done with that. And I think Darren, and we've talked to Darren about this, now we start healing wounds and start moving forward. And he's very much looking forward to getting started as the new Liberty High School athletic director. And I'm sure you will be meeting him and you'll be highly impressed with Darren Meeker. So that's another good thing going on in the district, and he is on the agenda for approval. Athletic handbook is also on the agenda, and I know Mr. White asked to pull that out, and I'm sure we will have more discussion on that. I know that GPA is a discussion item that we want to talk about. I know that GPA has been a discussion item in this district in the past, several other times. I think, as I told you in my staff memo, due to the fact that it's now June and almost July, and we had kids actually starting their fall fall practice July 30th, I think I read.
2 days. Yep.
2 days start July 30th. I think it's something that we need to really vet, as you do with just about every topic that comes before you. Take the opportunity to vet the process, make sure we get input from a lot of different people. And if that's the direction that we want to go as a school district in regard to GPA, then the logical time to start that would be the following school year, so that it's fair to kids, it's fair to parents, and obviously it would be fair to fall coaches. So I'm sure we'll discuss more about that during the approval time of the agenda. We also have a TRECA EMIS contract. Our EMIS coordinator has left the district, and TRECA is the IT consortium of which we belong. And what we're doing with this contract is basically outsourcing our EMIS person, and the savings to the district will be just about benefits. So approximately $15,000 or so on the savings. We also have the approval to start on the Walnut Creek Elementary gym floor. It did take on water damage about a month or so ago. I know Mr. Kerr updated you on in his staff memo. I believe insurance picks up approximately $28,000 of that. Just under 30. Okay. So the total cost was right around 40 or so. So the district will be putting in anywhere from $10,000 to $12,000 on that gym floor. And last but not least, We have the Oasis HVAC replacement. We have one of those good problems, I guess you would say. Oasis continues to grow. I look around the table and I can't recall who actually was sitting on the board when we started Oasis with one or two people.
Two.
And now we've had as many as, I think, around 90, and I think we're starting next year with 78, 72. So it is a thriving program that, again, is an alternative program for kids, and you've heard some of those individuals talk at this podium, and I believe the director will be here next month or the month after to give you an update on Oasis, but we're expanding, and now we have to replace the HVAC in that facility. So, that's all I have for you this month. I will entertain any questions that the board may have at this time.
I have a question. On the state report card,
Yes.
just to clarify, they're not moving to the A, B, C, and D this year?
That's correct.
But are they going to still do the comparison where you look at the academics versus the cost per pupil? Yeah,
That's a great question because
I never heard if they struck that.
In fact, Michael Sawyers, when he presented here, or maybe it was at a community forum, he talked a lot about having
It was at the
a
community
return on
forum.
investment.
Mm-hmm.
I asked that question. We had a meeting with him about 2 months ago. That will be coming, he said, but right now it's not on there. And again, one thing I didn't say from that cost per pupil slide was the fact that our cost per pupil actually dropped from $9,600 or so dollars to $9,400 or so dollars. So we are going the right direction. The achievement's going this way, the cost is going that way, and I continue to talk to people that say run it like a business, and I continue to say if I can show you a business that production's going this way and cost is going that way, you guys all live in that world. Would you invest in me on the stock market? I'd say the answer to that's probably yes, if you want to make some money. So, yes, that's what's happening, and that will the report card itself will be graded the year after, next year. Mr. O'Brien.
What was the plane number for the PI?
Yeah.
For the performance index?
108.12, something like that, wasn't it? The projected.
CI?
Not the projected. What
No,
did we put in the...
On the
Oh, 106.5.
Right. And
Mr. Rafe would know the answer
Yeah.
to this.
Yeah,
I'll
Mr.
guarantee
Rafe.
you. Mr. Rafe, what was that number?
106.5.
That was a
We tried to
stretch that
get
we
you, that
probably
was-
couldn't achieve.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I guarantee you next year when those goals come forward, we will expect more.
6.6 will be right there.
So the rate factor is probably worth about half a point.
Yeah.
That'll improve.
When will we get some visibility to the enrollment numbers? You said we're going to be monitoring that closely. Is that something we look at the July meeting? When do we think? I know kindergarten enrollment's done, but we'll get some enrollments over the summer.
Over the summer.
Yeah,
When do we get a good sense?
we will get a much better grasp, obviously, the first day of school. Right now, that we got our last projection, and it was 17,200 and something like that. Those would just be advancing all kids forward. We know we're going to grow over the summer, so we'll get a much better grasp, as they say, the first day of school when the butts are in the seats.
You probably get a minimum of 300 pickup just because you graduate 970 and you get 1,400.
I think the projection
At
at the end of the year is 17,600 and something.
Yeah, at graduation, you had mentioned, okay, we're graduating 970, and our kindergarten class is like 1,300.
And we really look
So-
more at our first grade class due to the fact that
Right,
several
go
of our
elsewhere.
kindergartners go to an all-day program, then come back to us in the first grade. So we'll have a much better grasp the first day of school. But I tell you what, we get that report every 2 weeks, and it absolutely amazes me. It amazed me the first day I walked in here, and continues to amaze me how close we are.
And that's still being posted on First Class. Right?
I just looked, and May was posted on there, and we were just 36 students under projections at the end of May. I was looking for the latest, but I didn't see it in there.
The official report that, I'm sorry, Ann, go ahead.
I was just going to say that you said the new AD for Olentangy Liberties from Ohio State, right?
Yes.
So that'll be nice to have someone from their program. And what position did he hold it?
He held several positions, basically what they call an associate athletic director. A lot of work that he did would be with the student athletes in regard to, going to class, making sure you're on the right career path, just different, almost like a counseling. He brings 2 master's degrees to the table with us, so he has a lot of experience in working with young people of going, okay, where are you going to be 5 years from now? Because as we all know, we've all discussed in there, we all want to be professional athletes. But as I always told my kids, and I know you do the same, you better have Plan B also, because Plan B is probably the one you're going to settle in on. So he has a lot of extensive experience with that, and he is ready to get started. In fact, he has published a book that basically takes you through how do you get yourself qualified for the NCAA clearinghouse, what are some of the things you should do while you're in high school to get yourself ready, where does academics come into play here, what's the difference between a privilege and a requirement, all the things almost that we're talking about in regard to our athletic handbook.
That sounds promising.
Yes.
Did you have something? Two things. Annually, the official report, if you will, from the development committee that ties into looking at facilities planning comes in October, after the Young has gone through all the numbers and worked with the development committee, the Young being a consultant. So that report comes in October. But we have in the past done interim reports, so that's something that we could ask the development committee to bring forward whenever you'd like to hear that.
Sure.
I'm just mostly interested to see enrollment. Ask the new student service center. Okay, how many did you enroll this week? How many
Yes.
did you enroll?
Yeah.
So,
Well, and if you watch that part of the building will be the busiest part of the district the next 2 months, in and out, revolving door.
The last thing is, in regard to whatever year the state transfers the PI as a number to a grading system, would you want to mention, because inadvertently the dispatch left out from Delaware County, Olentangy's grade, would you want to mention what that is?
In fact, I wanted to put it in this report, and I forgot about it. I'm glad you reminded me. Our grade at that time was a B+, and that I believe we had the highest percentage in the area.
Yep. Besides North Union.
North Union.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, that was left out of the dispatch article. I'm not second guessing anybody, but how you leave the best one out, I don't know. But we got left out. But we did have the highest grade, and believe me, when we make that conversion, Mr. Rafe and his group already working on that whole piece of Common Core, and when we make that switch, and we're in transition time right now, not only with report card, but going from state standards to Common Core. So we have a lot of work to do. You may see a dip in everybody's score, as you saw by that simulation, but one thing you can be assured of the fact that however it shakes out, we're going to be near the top. And our goal is to be at the top. And we have the staff to get it done. We have the individuals in the community that puts the expectation. And, we have the parents and the kids that continue to move here and send their kids to our school system. So however it shakes out, whatever system we end up going by, we're going to be near the top. Our goal is going to be the best.
Anything else? Thank you, Dr. Lucas.
Thank you.
Todd, if you're ready with the treasurer's report.
There's nothing out of the ordinary in the treasurer's action items. We'll be recommending approval of the fiscal year 13 appropriations. You'll notice in there that the general fund matches the previously approved general fund budget as well as the 5-year forecast. I thought I'd mention that the Ohio Department of Education just recently released simulations for our fiscal year 13 state revenue. And with expenditures dominating the discussion recently, I thought this was a good opportunity to bring revenue back to the table. and just put our state revenue in perspective. The simulation, this is preliminary data, so it's obviously subject to change, but the simulation is saying that our fiscal year 13 state revenue will be just under $7.2 million. And just some other data to put that in perspective. Comparing that fiscal year 13 number to fiscal year 05, the simulation for fiscal year 13 is $480,000 higher than what we actually received in fiscal year 05, while our enrollment for fiscal year 13 is projected to be over 8,000 students higher than what it was in fiscal year 05. So comparing that fiscal year 13 projection to fiscal year 05 numbers, we get only $60 per pupil in state revenue to educate each new student that we've enrolled since fiscal year 05. Looking back to fiscal year 09, comparing the fiscal year 13 simulation, the projected fiscal year 13 number is actually $655,000 less than what we received in fiscal year 09, while our enrollment is projected to be almost 3,500 higher than what the enrollment was in fiscal year 09. Comparing that fiscal year 13 number to fiscal year 09, that works out to negative $233 per pupil in state non-revenue to educate each new student since fiscal year 09. And then comparing it to fiscal year 12, keeping in mind in fiscal year 12 we received some Ed Jobs money from the ARA grant. While the enrollment is expected to be close to 800 higher in fiscal year 13 than what it was in fiscal year 12, the simulation is telling us that the revenue will be about $375,000 less than what we received in fiscal year 12. Not to be outdone by Wade, I have to bring some good news as well. So the good news is the simulated revenue is $150,000 higher than what we had projected in the May forecast.
You're digging pretty
Yeah.
deep for positive.
But
it's good. It's still
150,000.
positive.
It's still fine. Anything else?
That's all.
Any questions for Todd? Thank you, Todd. And public participation, number 1 for general comments. We have one person, please, and would you be so kind as to announce the protocol, if you would?
Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and you've got 5 minutes.
And that the first person, the only person would be Ms. Yulin. I pronounced your name correctly, I hope. Terry Yulin. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Terry Uline, 9309 Gibson Drive, Powell. I have 3 boys that attend Olentangy local schools. I actually was an aide this year at Orange High School in the MD unit, and upon passing Mr. Meyer one day in the hall, he just said, "Hey, look at our senior accomplishments." And so I just scanned the list, but he had sort of a rough draft written out of them, and it was fairly impressive. So I said, I would like to see those senior awards. So he gave me a copy of them, and so I decided to ask our other 2 principals for their copy. So my plan was to read their senior accomplishments. Unfortunately, there are so many of them that I had to choose one list, because the one list from Tom McDonald was 10 pages long. So Mr. Wright was on vacation, and Todd's was a rough draft, so I chose Mr. McDonald's because it's written out for me. But I just can't even tell you how impressive this was. Like, some of it will bring tears to your eyes, because these kids are so, I just only wish I was that accomplished when I was 16, 17 years old. And for this many accomplishments, you just have to have a system that's doing its job with its kids, because they don't get there by themselves. It takes a village to raise children, and it takes a good school system and a system that you believe in to stay there. And I've just had a wonderful experience with my boys. So I just want to read you some of the OHS accomplishments. I probably won't get all of them. This senior class led a student body that was recently recognized in the U.S. News and World Report as one of the top 5 high schools in Central Ohio. top 10 high schools in the state and 252 out of 21,776 public high schools in the country. This class was awarded over $11 million in scholarships and has accepted more than $6 million at this time. 18 of these seniors will be graduating cum laude with a cum GPA of 3.67 to 3.799. 33 of these seniors will be graduating magna cum laude with a GPA 3.8 to 3.99. 23 of these seniors at OHS will be graduating summa cum laude with a GPA of at least 4.0. 4 students were recognized as National Merit Commended Scholars. 3 students were recognized as National Merit Finalists. 96 of our seniors will graduate with an honors diploma. Olentangy High School had 20 AP scholars, 9 AP scholars with honors, and 8 AP scholars with distinction. They had 70% of their seniors take at least one AP course while they were in high school. 68 members of this class were members of the National Honor Society. 42 members of this class were members of BCOM, which their sole purpose is warming and welcoming the incoming freshmen. It's a mentoring program. A number of the graduates have received credentials from the Delaware Area Career Center in the past week and will certainly have an edge on their respective fields. In the performing arts, the Olentangy High School Marching Band with Pride received a superior rating at the OMEA Marching Band Contest for the 4th straight year and also qualified for finals at Mid-State Band Championships. Their concert band earned an excellent rating at the OMEA District Contest. The Symphonic Band earned a superior rating at the OMEA District and State Contest. One student received a Semper Fi Marine Award for Outstanding Musicianship. In the choral program, the Advanced Women's Choral earned a superior rating at the district contest. Our show choir, what? Sorry. I'm going to skip through some of this just because there was a few that I found very amazing, which one student at Olentangy High School, one scholar athlete who participated in athletics for all 12 seasons of her high school career, and she did this while maintaining above a 4.0 GPA. This class had the most Division I athletic signees of any OHS senior class. The Olentangy Student Council helped raise a record $4,000 this year and over $10,000 in their 4 years at the Olentangy Holiday and Caring Fund. The Olentangy Service Club had 58 participating seniors, volunteered over 12,000 hours this year. 18 of these graduates volunteered over 100 hours of their school career. The following teams were OCC champs. And as we can see, I have 5 pages that we never read. And that was just one of our high schools. So I think we need to take some pride in our school and the kids that we're putting out to move on to the next level of education. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Did you want to?
No.
Okay, Linda, if you would please, we have one discussion item, and that would be, as mentioned before, the second reading of the board policy item.
I do. I have one policy to present tonight for a second reading, and as I shared with you at last week's meeting, this is a policy that reflects a necessity for the district to collect E-rate reimbursement dollars, and it's required to be approved on or before July 1st. So are there any questions? And yes, everybody did receive the corrected copy of the strike throughs removed.
Yeah, the internet policy.
Okay.
Thank you, Linda. And Todd, do we have any public participation requests?
We do not.
For action items? Thank you. Board action items. We have 2 of those. As I made reference to earlier, we'd like to approve our board liaison assignments as we did originally at the beginning of the year in our organization meeting on January 9th. And with these changes, and this is what we had from the last meeting, and I was just wondering, Adam, if you've had an opportunity to talk to your employer or your wife and to see if there was something that because we didn't have you from the last time, if there's anything that you might be able to
You
participate.
imply my wife is my boss? Well, you would be correct on part of that.
Oh, okay.
No, I'll come when I can to the meetings, but I still have high work commitments. Like I did to the policy committee meeting I went to. When I can, I'll make it to different
Okay.
meetings.
Is there one, and then I'll do all the names at one time, but is there one that development committee, for instance, or?
It'd probably be easier for you to make if I can get a schedule of all the different committees. I can make different ones at different times.
Okay, well,
I mean,
okay, understood. And of course, any board member is welcome to attend any committee. It's just that we need to be careful that if there happens to be two board members at that meeting,
they don't talk.
No,
you
you
just
can't be there. Can't be a third
because
person.
it would
Two's
there-
okay.
Right.
Three.
So it becomes a board meeting.
Gotcha.
So with that, these are what I have from the last time. And if somebody could make a motion to adopt after I read them for the record, we'll move forward. With the board committees, we have the development committee, and that would continue to be Stacy Dunbar. Finance and Audit Committee, that would continue to be Kevin O'Brien and myself. The Policy Committee, that would continue to be me. The School Funding Action Committee would be Julie. Those are the four board committees. Regional assignments, the Ohio School Boards Association representative for student achievement would be Stacy, and the official delegate from the district and legal representative would be myself, and the Regional Council of Governments, likewise, I'd be the official representative to that council. In addition, we have two other organizations that aren't board committees, but that we have traditionally had representation, and that's the board of the Olentangy Education Foundation, and I would continue with that, and Julie would continue with her involvement and is currently the president of the board of the Delaware Career Center. So with that, we have a motion to adopt.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Julie, if you would please call the roll.
Ms. Dunbar?
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Ms. Feasel, yes. Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes. And our second item is the authorization to sign agreements in relation to a commercial card program with PNC Bank. We have a motion to adopt that.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
And discussion, is anything, Todd, that you want to speak to?
There's really not much to it. We already have a program in place. PNC is just making a slight change that's requiring some paperwork to make it formal. The change, there's just like a regular program, there's going to be basically kind of like points or rewards. That's just a minor piece of it. This actually should enhance that and, hopefully gain us some extra rewards.
Questions, comments?
I'll just clarify. I talked to Todd today. It's just basically a credit card there they have, like one per building. Instead of having cash lying around, you have the card so you can track the expenditures that are on there for some of the smaller needs that they have.
Added a convenience.
Okay. Would you call the roll, please?
Mr. O'Brien?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunbar?
Yes.
Ms. Feasel, yes. Mr. White?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yes. Thank you. And Todd, would you like to present treasurer's action items,
Yes.
please?
I recommend approval of action items A through E.
The motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
And any discussion or questions?
Two comments. One was to highlight the Board of Education where it has the employee benefits, and you were trying to explain to me that is it state mandated that the money is taken out? Like we haven't elected to have benefits besides the pay, but
Right.
the state is saying that unions can take the employee benefit out of our, or you have to apply the money towards our salary.
When
Well,
Take it out?
it's federally mandated that
What-
retirement would have to be. I'm sorry. Did you say union?
Yeah, I thought it was part of the union contract.
No.
Oh, it's just a state mandated rule?
This is only
Or federal?
retirement and Medicare. So federally mandated, you have to have Social Security taken
Right.
out. But since this is a school district, you could opt to have SERS as opposed to Social Security, and then the Medicare is also federally mandated.
What
So-
item is this referring
What's that?
to? What item? that you're referring to?
In the May financials, I was just looking through the line items, and I saw in there for the board payments, it had our salaries in there.
It's on page 19 out of 63, which is a report that breaks it down by function. So if you looked under the Board of Education function, there's an object 200, which is where benefits are expended. There's about $3,700 there, which is for retirement and Medicare.
So that's what I called them on to ask them what the benefits were, because I know we
There
didn't.
are no.
That's what I mean. We didn't,
We
but
don't
we're
have
still
benefits.
we're obligated to put in there for. I know Medicare, obviously, for regular jobs, but it pulls out SERS also at the same time.
You can have that changed. I had mine changed to Social Security because I'm not going to earn enough money for SERS. I don't know what everybody else does, but if you want to put your money into Social Security, they have a form that you can fill out.
I don't even see it deducted out. I see Medicare taken out. That's it.
I'd have to look at the pay stub. I
It's
haven't
however
seen
you
it.
authorize the district to do it.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's however you authorize the district to do it.
Well, I'd be by default Social Security. I just don't see it taken out of the.
I could look at the pay
Okay.
stub and see what.
And then the second thing was when I was looking at the budget for May year to date, I don't agree with the pickup on the pickup being used there, the 10% for the administration, where they don't pay anything towards the retirement. That's just a comment.
Any other questions, comments?
Again, I'd like to thank everyone for the great donations. This is when we see a lot of the PTOs and end of the year donations come in, both individuals and from the PTOs, and they're very much appreciated by our schools and our teachers.
Would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Ms. Dunbar,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Ms. Feasel, yes. Mr. White,
No.
Mr. King,
Yes. Thank you, Julie. And Dr. Lucas, superintendent action items.
Asked to present items A, B, and D through H for approval, please, keeping in mind that of the addendum we've added to the agenda in regard to personnel. And then we'll come back and get item C later.
A motion, please.
wait a minute.
A, B, and D through H.
It's everything but the handbook.
Everything but C.
I have to pull out A17.
Oh, you're right.
A17. You are correct. We even put that on as a separate item.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so let's go A 1 through 16, B, D through H. We'll come back and get A17 and item C for separate vote.
Sounds like stereo instructions.
Motion, please.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion?
Of course, me. All right.
I'm sorry?
I said, of course, me. I just have one item here. On the supplemental positions, I was looking at the board chairs, the building department chairs. I think it's page 2. It's Exhibit C5, page 2 of 7. And I was looking at, we have a math chair that's a building department chair for mathematics. She's making less than every single person on the supplemental area above her for building leadership team, and most of the, she's making less or equal to everyone above her. What's the building leadership team?
Adam, which page of the
Sorry, it's 2
exhibit? 2 of 7?
Right.
C5, 2 of 7. And you're talking specifically about the math chair.
Right, mathematics, and then there's, you can name off some other ones out here, science, but it's pretty low for the one mathematics versus all the other supplementals. I just think that we should decrease the other supplementals and increase the department chair for such an important position.
Well, yes, those are negotiated items, number one, so all those items are negotiated. I don't know if you're talking about the math at Berkshire, which would be half. They're splitting that. Which are those the two you're talking about?
Those two there, yeah.
So the reason that is lower than the rest is the fact that they are splitting that duty.
They share that one position.
Right. Even if you combined them together, maybe I should be pulling it out beforehand. What do I do next time for something like this? I think that the department chair should be paid a significant amount versus the other supplementals. So what do I do in the future to be able to have that change or add it before that? I have got a book of Robert's Rule, but I mean...
rules to pull out and make amendments
Well,
and motions.
It's going to get to the next time that there's negotiations.
Yeah, those are negotiated items.
That's fine. I just
So
wanted...
you would look towards that period as the district would ramp up to the negotiations at the end of the current contract.
So maybe the same thing said another way. The negotiation process that you just went through on the board, which you were part of, in that contract of salary schedules, which that would have been your opportunity to address that issue.
Now
That opportunity has passed for the next 3 years.
Yes.
Until we address those pay scales again.
When we start that
And
conversation.
you'll be out, should you be, continue your service until that opportunity then.
And that is, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but that is a year-long process. For example, we're going into executive session tonight to discuss negotiations. That's the board's opportunity to, one, get updated, two, get input. And that is, I mean, that just doesn't happen one time. That happens, I think, with the teacher's contract, it probably went on for a year where we had that conversation. So your input would be requested at that time.
The pay scales were on there inside the contract, but all the supplemental positions, I didn't see them in there.
They are part of the contract,
Right.
of any current contract.
Well, part of the scale. They
Right,
pay
well-
their supplemental based on what.
Right,
their pay
I
scale.
agree. And I didn't agree with the pay scale, but the positions themselves weren't in there. So I'm glad you clarified that. I'm also noting that the individual positions were in there, even though you say they're connected to the pay scale, which is true. So I'm just stating my comment that I think that the department chair should be paid significantly more than the other supplemental positions.
Okay, thank you. Would you call the roll, please?
Forgot where we were. Ms. Dunbar,
Yes.
Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Ms. Fiesel, yes. Mr. White,
No.
Mr. King.
Yes. And
Asked to present item A17 for approval, please.
we have a motion, please.
So moved. I'll second this time.
Okay. Any discussion?
Is this the athletic handbook?
No,
This
this is John Fiesel as girls' head golf coach.
And legally, I have to abstain. That's why
Yes.
we pull it out.
Mm.
Okay. Ms. Dunbar, or I'm sorry, Mr. O'Brien made that motion. Ms. Dunbar,
Yes.
Ms. Fiesel abstains, Mr. White,
Yes.
and Mr. King.
Yes.
And I asked to present the approval of item C on the agenda as listed.
This one's the handbook.
Yes. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
And discussion.
So just to be clear, approval of the handbook tonight so they can be printed and ready for the fall season doesn't prohibit us from discussing this GPA issue, nor would it maybe stop us from amending that policy and amending that book either immediately or for the next school season, whatever the board decides.
And would you want to just mention about the fact that the grades have been posted? I think you already did that, didn't you? The grades have been posted that leads into the next season.
Yeah. The eligibility is based on the 9 weeks, prior 9 weeks. So the fourth 9 weeks of a school year would determine the eligibility of the next fall season. So those grades have been posted, and those students have completed that work. So the eligibility lists have now been released. Once the grade cards go out, the eligibility list gets released.
And that ties into the first semester of next year.
That ties into the first 9 weeks.
9 weeks, I'm sorry.
First 9 weeks of the following year, of which those individuals will be starting July 30th.
Comment. I think we need to move it to the 2.0, and we can grandfather in, that's the term we're going to call it, the kids that are coming into the fall season. Their eligibility isn't affected. It'd be starting for the winter season, so you'd be talking about their grades for the first 9 weeks. And we could do that, and it's only one, you're talking about like a line or two before the printing about the GPA. And then the second fact is that a student that can't earn grades above a D mark, I think that the least of his or her worries are going to be about athletic eligibility when they enter the real world. I think that you can make the GPA, we can change a policy to let them practice if they want to, but not play in the glory of the game until they earn their marks above a D. And you still get those kids coming in that Mr. Rafe was talking about, those kids that need some sort of incentive to come to school. Well, they can still practice on the team, and that's the whole part of coming in and being on a team. You don't get to play in the games because the glory is left for the people who get above the D grades. And you make the GPA 2.0, and we can revise two simple parts of the policy, which is the eligibility doesn't start until the winter season, so that we're not being unfair to the children right now who are going to go into the fall. And I think I'm losing my mind. I don't know what my second one
I
was.
think you got it.
Adam, just for clarification, the current policy, they already, those that are ineligible can practice, and they just don't play.
Perfect. See, it's already in place, that part. All we have to do is change
We've
when
been
it
doing
starts.
that for several years.
Other
Excellent.
comments?
Yeah.
I just thought what we agreed to at the last meeting was to wait till July, get a full analysis of where we are versus benchmarks, peer groups, and then we'd be better informed to make that decision about changing the GPA.
Well, I don't think it requires a bunch of studies. We're talking about grades. I mean, how long can the kids wait? We're just talking about a C grade. I don't think we need, and plus the athletic handbook's on the agenda tonight. Why don't we just go ahead and make it a 2.0? And the kids
I'd
that
like
are,
to see the analysis first before I'm ready to vote.
what are you going to read in the analysis though? What's it going to tell you?
It'll give me comfort on
Find
the
out.
quality of this.
Yeah, we like to
Due
base it.
diligence, you should do it before you vote.
And even the NCAA requires a minimum of 2.0. We have well below that, 1.5.
Stacy, do you have any comments?
We'll have the opportunity to debate it when we
That's
get
good.
the information that we all want to see. Most of us want to see.
That information will be coming to prior to the July meeting.
Would
Thank
you call
you.
the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. O'Brien,
Yes.
Ms. Dunbar,
Yes.
Ms. Fiesel, yes. Mr. White,
No.
Mr. King.
Yes. And with that, we will enter into executive session at, you got the time, Todd?
7:19.
7:19, as permitted by Section 121.22 G4 of the ORC, for the purpose of preparing for, conducting, or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees. And we will not be having any other business after executive session. And we adjourn the meeting. Could you